I stared at my laptop screen, my heart hammering against my ribs. The apartment listing was perfect, downtown, affordable, available immediately. All I needed was to transfer the deposit from my savings account. But when I clicked on my banking app, my world collapsed. $0. My $68,000 savings account showed $0. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the transaction history. 3 withdrawals. All authorized by Gemma Matthews, my mother. The woman who raised me, fed me, claimed to love me. She had cleaned out every penny I'd saved for 3 years. 3 years of working double shifts, skipping meals, buying nothing for myself. 3 years of carefully budgeting every dollar while watching my parents spend freely on things they didn't need. I walked downstairs on shaking legs. Mom was drinking coffee at the kitchen table, scrolling through her phone like nothing had happened. Dad was reading the newspaper, completely calm. The morning sun streamed through the windows, making everything look normal and peaceful. "Mom," I said quietly, "where's my money?" She didn't even look up. "What money?" "My savings, all $68,000. It's gone." Now she looked at me, her face cold as winter. "You owe us, Vivienne. We fed you, housed you, supported you for 24 years. Consider it payment." My stomach dropped. Payment? Rent starts Monday. $800 a month. I stood there, processing her words. They had stolen my future, and now wanted me to pay them for the privilege of staying in their house. The house I'd been quietly helping maintain. The house where I'd been planning my escape. "You can't be serious," I whispered. Dad finally looked up from his newspaper. "Vivienne, you're an adult. Time to contribute or find somewhere else to live." Something inside me snapped. Not into anger, into clarity. These people weren't my family anymore. They were strangers who happened to share my DNA. Strangers who had just committed theft and were acting like I should be grateful for the privilege of being robbed. "Okay," I said simply. Mom's eyebrows shot up. She'd clearly expected tears, pleading, maybe a tantrum. Instead, I just nodded and walked back upstairs. Behind me, I heard Dad whisper something to Mom, but I couldn't make out the words. I didn't care anymore. "That's it," she called after me. "Just okay?" I paused at the top of the stairs. Yeah, just okay. I closed my bedroom door and leaned against it. My hands were steady now. My mind was crystal clear. They wanted me gone? Fine, but they had no idea what they just unleashed. I opened my laptop and started making a list. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I packed. Not everything, that would raise suspicion. Just the essentials. Birth certificate, passport, backup debit card, work laptop, a week's worth of clothes. Everything else could be replaced. The house was silent. Mom and Dad had gone to bed hours ago, probably congratulating themselves on their brilliant plan. They had no idea I was 3 steps ahead of them. While they slept peacefully, thinking they'd taught me a lesson, I was already planning my escape. I moved like a ghost through the house, taking only what I absolutely needed. By dawn, my car was loaded. I'd parked it down the street the night before, just in case. The last thing I grabbed was a pen and paper. I thought about writing something longer, something that would explain how they'd broken my heart. But they didn't deserve that many words. I left a note on the kitchen table. "You don't get to take from me anymore." Short, simple, true. I took one last look around the house where I'd grown up. 24 years of memories lived in these walls. But memories don't pay bills. Memories don't steal your future. I walked out the front door at 6:47 a.m., while my parents were still sleeping. The sunrise painted the sky pink and gold. It felt like a promise. I never looked back. Gemma found my note at 8:30 a.m. I know because she called me 17 times in a row. I let every call go to voicemail, then blocked her number. By noon, I was at my friend Jessica's apartment across town. She'd offered her couch weeks ago when I'd mentioned wanting to move out. She asked no questions, just handed me a spare key and said, "Stay as long as you need." Jessica had always been the kind of friend who understood without explanation. I spent the first day in a weird, peaceful bubble. No walking on eggshells. No monitoring my parents' moods. No calculating how much money they'd need for their latest crisis. No checking my phone every 10 minutes to see what emergency required my immediate attention. Just silence. My phone buzzed constantly, blocked calls trying to get through, text messages from numbers I didn't recognize. I ignored them all. Let them panic. Let them wonder where I was. For once in my life, their problems weren't automatically my problems. On day 2, Jessica asked gently, "You want to talk about it?" I shook my head. "Not yet, but thank you." She squeezed my shoulder. "When you're ready." That afternoon, I started apartment hunting. For real this time. Back home, things were falling apart faster than expected. Oscar tried to buy gas Tuesday morning, but his card got declined. He called Gemma, confused. "Didn't Vivienne usually fill up the cars?" he asked. Gemma's silence was deafening. Wednesday, the Wi-Fi went out during Gemma's important work call. She screamed at the router, then at Oscar, then tried calling the internet company. The automated system informed her the bill was overdue. She'd been in the middle of a presentation to her biggest client when everything crashed. "When did Vivienne handle this stuff?" Oscar muttered, scrolling through their online accounts. Everything required passwords they didn't know. Vivienne had always taken care of the technical details. Thursday, Gemma tried logging into my Netflix account to watch her shows. Access denied. My Spotify account? Access denied. The family cell phone plan? Suspended for non-payment. Even the grocery store loyalty card was linked to my email address. Oscar found Gemma crying in the kitchen Thursday night. Not sad tears, frustrated, angry tears. "She's doing this on purpose," Gemma hissed. "She's punishing us." Oscar looked around their house. The fridge was nearly empty. The mail was piling up, unopened. The plants were dying. "Gemma," he said slowly, "what exactly did Vivienne do around here?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Friday morning brought the mortgage notice. Oscar found it tucked between credit card offers and grocery store ads. His hands shook as he read it. Payment overdue, late fees applied, contact immediately to avoid further action. "Gemma," he shouted. "Get down here." She stumbled downstairs in her bathrobe, hair a mess. "What now?" He waved the notice. "The mortgage bounced. How is that possible?" Gemma snatched the paper, scanning it frantically. "This is wrong. We refinanced 6 months ago. The payments are lower now." The refinancing had been Vivienne's idea. She'd researched better rates and helped them navigate the paperwork. Lower, yes. But who was making them? The color drained from Gemma's face. She remembered now. Vivienne setting up automatic transfers, Vivienne checking the accounts, Vivienne asking quiet questions about due dates. Vivienne handling everything while they lived their lives without worry. Oscar called the bank. The automated system cheerfully informed him their account was $400 overdrawn. "How?" Gemma whispered. Oscar looked at her with growing horror. "She wasn't just living here, Gemma. She was holding this place together." Upstairs, I was having coffee on Jessica's balcony, reading a book. Peaceful, quiet, free. I found a studio apartment on Saturday. Nothing fancy, just clean, safe, and mine. The deposit came from my emergency fund, money I'd hidden in a separate account my parents never knew about. Sunday, I went furniture shopping. A bed, a small table, 2 chairs. Enough to start over. The sales clerk was friendly and I paid cash. No credit cards tied to family accounts, no paper trail leading back to them. Everything I bought was chosen specifically for me. Colors I liked, textures that made me happy. Monday, I started my new routine. Coffee at sunrise, 20-minute walk through the neighborhood. Work from my laptop at the kitchen table. Groceries for one. Meals I actually wanted to eat. No more buying food I hated because it was on sale or because Mom insisted it was healthy. It was strange how quiet my mind became. For years I'd carried this low-level anxiety, always waiting for the next crisis, the next demand for money, the next emergency that somehow became my responsibility. Now, nothing. Just peace. Tuesday evening, Jessica called. "How are you settling in?" "It's weird," I admitted. "Good weird. Like I can finally breathe." "That's not weird, Vivienne. That's healing." I smiled, watching the sunset through my new window. She was right. Back home, Gemma opened an envelope addressed to me. IRS correspondence. Something about my tax filing from last year. She tossed it aside without reading it, too distracted by her own problems. Wednesday, she got her own letter from the IRS. Audit notice. Penalties for late filing. Questions about unreported income. The letter was thick, official, and terrifying. Gemma had never dealt with tax issues before. Vivienne had always handled everything. "Oscar," she screamed. He came running, thinking she was hurt. Instead, she waved government paperwork in his face. "They're auditing us. They want documents going back 3 years." Oscar took the letter, reading carefully. "It says here we filed incorrectly. used the wrong forms for our income level. The technical language was confusing, full of terms he didn't understand. Vivienne had always translated this stuff for them. That's impossible. Vivienne always. Gemma stopped mid-sentence. Vivienne always what? She helped with the taxes, said she'd learned how in college. Oscar's face went pale. Gemma, please tell me you didn't file taxes under Vivienne's name to get better deductions. Gemma's silence answered everything. Oh God, Oscar whispered. What did you do? Thursday, the power went out. Not the whole neighborhood, just their house. Gemma called the electric company, furious. There must be a mistake. We always pay our bills. The customer service representative calmly explained their account was 3 months behind. The automated payment system had failed, and nobody had updated it. Vivienne had set up all the automatic payments 2 years ago, and they'd never thought about them since. But my daughter handles. Gemma stopped. Never mind. Oscar came home to a dark house and a hysterical wife. This is temporary, Gemma kept saying. Vivienne will come back. She'll fix this. She paced around the kitchen, using her phone's flashlight to navigate. Oscar wasn't so sure. He'd driven past Jessica's apartment building that afternoon, hoping to spot my car. No luck. I was gone. Really gone. Friday, Gemma tried calling me from her work phone. I answered, thinking it was a job interview callback. Vivienne, sweetheart, we need to talk. I hung up immediately and blocked that number too. Saturday, their car got towed. Oscar had forgotten to pay the insurance, and they'd parked in a permit-only zone downtown. The towing fee was $300. The insurance reinstatement was another $150. They sat in their dark house, eating takeout they couldn't afford, finally understanding the magnitude of their mistake. Sunday marked 2 weeks since I'd left. Oscar broke down and called me from a borrowed phone at work. Vivienne, please. Just help us figure out the bills. We'll pay you back the money. I listened to his voice crack, remembering all the times he'd stood by while Gemma treated me like unpaid help. All the times he'd watched her take credit for my work, my solutions, my endless efforts to keep their lives running smoothly. No, I said quietly. Vivienne, we're drowning here. The house. Should have thought of that before you stole my future. I hung up and blocked that number too. That afternoon, I got a job offer. Full-time marketing position with a nonprofit downtown. Better pay, better benefits, better people. I accepted immediately. The director seemed genuinely excited to have me on the team. Monday morning, I bought myself flowers, pink roses, my favorite. The card read, "Congratulations on choosing yourself." I signed it, "Love Vivienne," and smiled. It felt wonderful to celebrate my own victories. Tuesday, I started my new job. My coworkers were kind, professional people who respected boundaries. Nobody asked me for money or expected me to solve their problems. During lunch, I walked through the city park, eating a sandwich I'd made myself, in peace. It felt like winning. Gemma's medication costs hit them Wednesday. Her monthly prescriptions, insulin, blood pressure pills, antidepressants, came to $400 without insurance coverage. What do you mean, not covered? Gemma demanded at the pharmacy. The pharmacist checked her computer. Your insurance lapsed last month. No payments received. Oscar's card got declined. Gemma's was maxed out. They left empty-handed, Gemma's face burning with humiliation. The other customers stared as they argued quietly near the pharmacy counter. Gemma had always prided herself on appearing successful, put together. Now she looked like what she was. Desperate. Vivienne always handled the insurance, Oscar admitted in the car. She called them every year to renew the discounts. Thursday, Oscar's brother called with gossip from the neighborhood. Hey, I heard Vivienne moved out? Colleen from next door said Gemma told her Vivienne got brainwashed by bad influences or something. Oscar sighed. It's complicated, Tom. Well, whatever happened, that girl was always so helpful. Remember when she fixed my computer? And she used to mow old Mrs. Peterson's lawn for free. Tom's voice carried genuine fondness. Always saw her helping people around the neighborhood. Real thoughtful kid. Yeah, Oscar said quietly. She was. Hope she's doing okay. Always seemed like she had her head on straight. Smart as a whip, that one. Oscar stared at their pile of unpaid bills and disconnection notices. Yeah, she really did. Friday was my birthday. 25 years old. I woke up in my own apartment, made my own coffee, ate breakfast in my pajamas without anyone commenting on my appearance or asking me for money. No calls from family, no texts, no acknowledgement whatsoever. It should have hurt. Instead, it felt liberating. For years, my birthday had been overshadowed by family drama. Someone always needed money for something urgent that coincidentally came up on my special day. Mom would promise to make my favorite cake, then complain about the cost of ingredients. Dad would give me $20 and act like it was a fortune. I took myself out for lunch at a nice restaurant. Ordered whatever I wanted without calculating how much my parents might need for their next crisis. The waitress brought me a free dessert when I mentioned it was my birthday. She was probably my age, with kind eyes and a genuine smile. That evening, I lit a single candle on a grocery store cupcake. "Happy birthday to the real me," I whispered, and made a wish. I wished for peace. I wished for growth. I wished for the strength to keep moving forward. All three were already coming true. Saturday, my sister Tessa finally texted. "Heard you moved out. Mom and Dad said you were being dramatic. But I'm starting to think there's more to the story." I stared at the message for a long time before responding. There always is. "Want to talk?" "Not yet, but maybe someday." Sunday brought the pre-foreclosure notice. Oscar found it wedged behind the mailbox, water-damaged and official-looking. "Gemma, we need to talk." She looked up from her phone, where she'd been scrolling through my social media, looking for clues about where I lived. Oscar spread the papers on their kitchen table. 60 days to bring the mortgage current. If we don't, they start proceedings. Gemma's face went white. "How much do we need?" 4 months of payments plus penalties, about $6,000. They sat in silence, the weight of the number crushing them. "Maybe we could sell some stuff," Gemma suggested weakly. Oscar looked around their house. The furniture was old. The electronics were outdated, the car was 12 years old and needed repairs. "Gemma, we don't have $6,000 worth of anything." She started crying then. Not the angry tears from before. Defeated tears. "She planned this," Gemma whispered. "Vivienne planned this whole thing to hurt us." Oscar shook his head slowly. "No, Gemma, we did this to ourselves." Monday, I read the public notices online, a habit I'd developed to stay informed about the neighborhood. My parents' house was listed in the foreclosure section. I felt a strange mix of sadness and relief. Sadness for the house where I'd grown up, relief that it wasn't my problem anymore. Tuesday, Tessa called me at work. "Vivienne, I moved out, got a job in Portland. I couldn't stay there anymore." "What happened?" "They keep fighting. Mom blames Dad. Dad blames Mom. They both blame you. But I started adding up all the stuff you used to do and..." Her voice trailed off. "And? You basically ran that house. The bills, the insurance, the taxes, the maintenance, everything." I was quiet for a moment. "Tessa, I need you to know, whatever they told you about why I left, it wasn't the whole truth. I'm starting to figure that out. They seem lost without you. They'll figure it out. Or they won't. Either way, it's not our job to save them." "When did you get so wise?" I smiled. "About 3 weeks ago." Wednesday, Gemma sent an email with the subject line, "You ruined us." I almost deleted it without reading, but curiosity won. The email was 3 pages of rage, guilt, and blame. Every paragraph painted me as an ungrateful daughter who'd abandoned her loving family. She called me selfish, cruel, vindictive. But the last line stopped me cold. "Please help us. We didn't know how much you did." I forwarded the email to my therapist. Yes, I'd started seeing someone to process everything. Her name was Dr. Rodriguez, and she was helping me understand that my family's problems were never my responsibility. "This is actually progress," Dr. Rodriguez said during our Thursday session. "She's finally admitting you did things for them." "It doesn't feel like progress. It feels like manipulation." "Both can be true. The question is, how does it make you feel?" I thought about it, tired, but also relieved, like I made the right choice. "You did, Vivienne. You absolutely did." Friday, Oscar called in sick to work. He couldn't concentrate anymore. Bills covered their dining room table like snow. Each envelope brought new problems, new deadlines, new costs they couldn't meet. He tried calling government assistance programs, but the waiting lists were months long. He applied for credit cards, but their credit scores had tanked from missed payments. Saturday, Gemma's sister called with gossip. "I heard through the grapevine that Vivienne moved out, and you two are having money troubles." Gemma wanted to lie, but what was the point? She left. Things have been difficult. Well, that's odd. Vivienne always seemed so responsible. Remember when she organized Mom's funeral, and she helped me with my taxes that one year? After hanging up, Gemma sat in her car and cried. Real tears this time, sad tears. Sunday, Oscar's cousin stopped by unexpectedly. He took one look at their dark house, the pile of mail, the general chaos, and asked, "Where's Vivienne? She usually keeps this place running like clockwork." Oscar and Gemma exchanged glances. The truth was becoming impossible to hide. Monday morning brought a knock at my door. I opened it to find a certified mail carrier with an envelope marked IRS. My stomach dropped. What if my parents had somehow tangled me up in their tax problems? I opened it with shaking hands, but the letter was actually good news. The IRS was confirming that I wasn't liable for my parents' audit. Apparently, they'd filed fraudulent returns using my information last year, but my own documentation proved I wasn't involved. I was in the clear. They weren't. Tuesday, I called the IRS to provide additional documentation. The agent was professional and thorough. "Miss Matthews, we appreciate your cooperation. This information will be very helpful in our investigation." Investigation? When taxpayers file fraudulent returns using someone else's information, we take it seriously. There may be criminal charges. Wednesday, I saw the first news article online, local couple under investigation for tax fraud. No names mentioned, but I recognized the street address. I closed my laptop and made myself tea. It felt surreal, watching my old life collapse from the outside. But I wasn't part of it anymore. I was safe. Thursday, Tessa called from Portland. "Vivienne, have you seen the news about Mom and Dad?" "I saw something online. The neighbors are all talking. Mrs. Peterson told her daughter, who told everyone at church, Mom won't leave the house anymore." I felt a flicker of sympathy, quickly followed by irritation at myself for feeling it. "Tessa, I need to tell you something. They didn't just kick me out, they stole $68,000 from my savings account." Silence. Then, what? I explained everything. The theft, the rent demand, my decision to leave. By the end, Tessa was crying. "Vivienne, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. It's not your fault, but now you understand why I can't go back." Completely. God, I feel so stupid for not seeing it before. Friday, I donated my last box of childhood photos to Goodwill. I'd been holding on to them thinking I might want them someday. But looking at pictures of family vacations and birthday parties just made me sad. That life was over. This life was better. Saturday, I treated myself to a nice dinner at a restaurant downtown. Nothing fancy, just good food in a peaceful atmosphere. At the next table, a family was celebrating a graduation. The parents looked so proud, so supportive. I wondered what that felt like. Sunday, I volunteered at a local food bank. The coordinator was a woman named Marie who reminded me of the grandmother I'd never had. She was kind, patient, and never asked for more than I could give. "You have a gift for organization," she told me as we sorted donations. "Have you ever considered nonprofit work?" I smiled. "Actually, I just started a new job with a nonprofit." "Wonderful. The world needs more people like you. People like me. People who helped without expecting anything in return. People who gave because it felt right, not because they were obligated." Monday, I started a journal. The first entry was short, Day 28 of Freedom. Still hard to believe this is real. The second entry was longer. Today I realized I'm not angry anymore. Just sad for what could have been, but grateful for what is. Tuesday, Gemma's health took a turn. The stress, combined with missing her medications, landed her in the emergency room with dangerously high blood pressure. Oscar called me from the hospital. I almost didn't answer the unknown number. "Vivienne, your mother is in the ER. Can you just..." "No. She's asking for you." She should have thought of that before she stole from me. I hung up, but my hands were shaking. Despite everything, part of me still felt guilty. Wednesday, I called Dr. Rodriguez for an emergency session. I feel terrible for not going to the hospital. "Vivienne, guilt is a normal response. But guilt doesn't mean you made the wrong choice. What if something happens to her? That's not your responsibility. You can feel sad about their situation without making it your problem to solve." Thursday, Tessa texted. "Mom's home from the hospital. She's okay. Dad's staying with Uncle Tom for a while. They separated." I stared at the message, feeling surprisingly little. Their marriage falling apart was just another consequence of their choices. Friday marked exactly 1 month since I'd left. I celebrated by buying myself a small houseplant, a succulent that would be hard to kill. I named it Phoenix. Saturday, I got a text from an unknown number. Vivienne, this is your mother. I know you blocked my other numbers. Please call me. I want to apologize. I screenshot the message and sent it to Dr. Rodriguez with a note. Progress or manipulation? She responded quickly. Could be both. The question is, what do you need right now? What did I need? Peace, safety, time to heal. I blocked the new number. Sunday, I went hiking alone in the mountains outside the city. The trail was challenging but beautiful. At the summit, I sat on a rock overlooking the valley and felt something I'd never experienced before. Complete contentment. No one needed anything from me. No one was waiting at home with problems for me to solve. I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Monday, I started looking at apartments with better lease terms. My studio was perfect for now, but I was thinking bigger. Maybe a 1-bedroom, maybe a balcony, maybe a future. Tuesday, Oscar showed up at my work. Security called me down to handle it. Apparently he'd been asking for me at the front desk. He looked terrible, thin, unshaven, wearing clothes that needed washing. Vivienne, please, just 5 minutes. I almost said no. Then I realized I needed to hear what he had to say. Not for him, for me. We sat in the building's lobby, him fidgeting with his car keys, me calm and composed. We made a mistake, he said finally. A huge mistake. Your mother, she thought you owed us, but we owed you. We owed you everything. I listened without responding. The house is gone. Your mother's sick. I'm staying with my brother. Everything fell apart the minute you left. Dad, you didn't call me here to apologize. You called me here to ask for help. His face crumpled. We don't deserve it. But Vivienne, we're desperate. I was desperate too, when you stole my future. Remember that? He nodded, tears in his eyes. I hope you figure it out, I said gently. But I can't help you anymore. Wednesday, I read the final news article about my parents' case. They'd reached a plea agreement with the IRS, probation, restitution, and community service. No jail time, but their financial reputation was destroyed. Thursday, I cleaned out my email drafts folder and found a letter I'd written but never sent. It was addressed to both my parents, explaining how their treatment had affected me over the years. I read it through, remembering the anger and hurt that had driven me to write it. Then I deleted it. I didn't need them to understand anymore. Friday, Tessa called with an update. Dad moved back in with Mom. They're trying to make it work. But they had to sell the house. They're renting a small apartment across town. How are you doing with all this? Better, actually. Being away from the drama has been good for me. I'm thinking about going back to school. That's wonderful, Tessa. Vivienne, thank you for showing me it was okay to leave. Saturday, I bought a small bookshelf for my apartment. Nothing fancy, just 4 shelves for the books I was slowly collecting. Stories of other people who'd found the courage to start over. Sunday, I woke up in my sunny apartment and made coffee in my own kitchen. 6 weeks ago, this life had seemed impossible. Now it felt natural. I spent the morning reading in my favorite chair, then walked to the farmer's market for fresh vegetables. The vendors knew me now, the quiet girl who always paid cash and said thank you. That afternoon, I video called Tessa. She looked good, rested, happy, younger somehow. I have news, she said, grinning. I got accepted to Portland State. Starting in the fall. Tessa, that's amazing. I wanted to thank you. Seeing you leave gave me permission to want more for myself. Monday, I wrote a letter I actually planned to send, not to my parents, to myself, 1 year in the future. Dear future Vivienne, I began. Today you are 6 weeks into your new life. You have your own apartment, a job you love, and peace you never thought possible. I hope by the time you read this, you've continued growing, continued healing, continued choosing yourself. I sealed it in an envelope marked Open August 2025 and put it in my desk drawer. Tuesday morning, I stood by my kitchen window, watching the sunrise paint the sky pink and gold, just like the morning I'd left home. But this sunrise felt different. This one belonged to me. I made my coffee, watered Phoenix the succulent, and checked my bank account. My new paycheck had been deposited. For the first time in years, every penny belonged to me. Wednesday, I got a promotion at work. My supervisor called me into her office with a big smile. Vivienne, We'd like to offer you the senior coordinator position. You've shown incredible initiative and organization skills. I accepted gratefully, thinking about all the years I'd spent organizing other people's lives for free. Thursday, I took myself out for a celebration dinner. At the restaurant, I overheard two women talking about their controlling families. I wanted to tell them they had choices, but I stayed quiet. Everyone had to find their own path to freedom.